My name is Samantha Turner, and at 29, I own a multi-million-dollar marketing company. 11 years ago, my mother called me a disgrace, slapped me across the face and kicked me out of our home because I refused to marry the man she had chosen for me today. I returned to my hometown on my private jet with my 5-year-old daughter, Emma. The expression on my parents' faces when they saw us step out of the car was worth every struggle I endured before I continue my story. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. If you want more real-life comeback stories, growing up in the Turner household meant living by strict rules and even stricter expectations. My parents, Margaret and Robert Turner, weren't just conservative. They were controlling in ways that shaped every aspect of my existence. Our suburban home in Pennsylvania looked picture perfect. From the outside manicured lawn, pristine white fence, and windows that gleamed in the sunlight, inside those walls, however, was a different story. My mother, Margaret, rolled our home with an iron fist, disguised in designer gloves, standing at 5'6", with perfectly coiffed auburn hair that never moved an inch. She was obsessed with appearances and social standing. Every decision she made revolved around how others would perceive our family. My father, Robert, a tall, quiet man who worked as an accountant at a respected firm, rarely challenged her. He nodded along to her demands, occasionally throwing me apologetic glances when her criticism became particularly harsh. "A proper young lady doesn't question her mother's wisdom," became her mantra. Whenever I showed the slightest hint of independence by the time I turned 15, these confrontations had become a regular occurrence. My crime, wanting to join the debate team, instead of cotillion classes, applying for a part-time job at the local bookstore, instead of volunteering at my mother's country club, charity events wearing jeans instead of the floral dresses she laid out for me. "You're embarrassing the family with these rebellious phases," she would say, her voice razor sharp, while maintaining a perfect smile. The Johnson's daughter never gives them this much trouble. Our dining room became a battlefield, with daily lectures about my posture, my grades, which were excellent but never excellent enough, and how I would never attract a quality husband with my attitude. My father would stare at his plate during these moments, occasionally muttering, "Listen to your mother, Samantha." His cowardice hurt more than her direct attacks. The subject of my future husband became an increasingly frequent topic. As I approached my senior year of high school, my mother had been cultivating a relationship with the Wilsons, a family that had recently moved to our community. Their son Marcus was 33 to my 18, recently divorced, and the heir to his father's real estate development company. He had the right pedigree, the right connections, and according to my mother, was the perfect match for me. "He's established, successful, and from a good family," she would gush after their visits. "You should be flattered. He's shown interest in you." What my mother interpreted as interest, I recognized as something far more unsettling. The way Marcus looked at me during dinner parties made my skin crawl. His eyes would linger too long. His comments about how I was blossoming into a beautiful young woman, delivered with a smile that never reached his eyes when he would accidentally brush against me or place his hand on the small of my back. I would feel sick to my stomach. Meanwhile, I had secret dreams of my own. I wanted to study business and marketing late at night. I would research colleges with strong business programs, schools far away from Pennsylvania. I kept brochures hidden beneath my mattress like contraband. When college application season arrived, I applied to 7 schools without my parents' knowledge, using money I had saved from babysitting to pay the application fees. My acceptance letter from the University of California, Berkeley arrived on a Tuesday. I hid it in my desk drawer, simultaneously elated and terrified. That same evening, my mother announced that the Wilsons would be joining us for dinner that weekend for a very special occasion. The knowing look she gave my father sent a chill down my spine. "We have such wonderful news," she told me, patting my hand in a rare display of affection. "You'll finally understand why I've been so hard on you all these years. Everything I've done has been to prepare you for this moment." As the week progressed, my mother was unusually pleasant, helping me select an outfit for the dinner and even scheduling an appointment at her hair salon for me. Her sudden kindness only increased my anxiety. The acceptance letter burned in my desk drawer like a live coal, representing everything I wanted versus everything that was being planned for me without my consent. The night before the dinner, I overheard my parents talking in hushed tones in their bedroom. "She's too young," my father said, showing a rare moment of backbone. "Nonsense," my mother replied. "I was 19 when we married. Besides, the Wilsons are offering a very generous arrangement. This connection will secure her future and help with your partnership track at the firm. Everyone wins." I backed away from their door, my heart pounding. They weren't just planning a marriage. They were negotiating a business transaction, and I was the commodity being sold. The dining room gleamed under the chandelier light that Saturday evening. Crystal glasses, our finest china and polished silver, adorned the table my mother had spent all day preparing. I sat rigidly in my navy blue dress, my hands folded in my lap to hide their trembling. The Wilsons arrived precisely at 7. Marcus trailing behind his parents with a smug confidence that made my stomach turn. He was objectively handsome, tall with dark hair, and the kind of features that photographed well for business magazines. But his practiced smile never reached his cold blue eyes. He carried a small velvet box that he placed beside his water glass, catching my eye with a wink that made me shudder internally. "Samantha," he greeted me, kissing my cheek and lingering too long. "You look absolutely stunning tonight." The dinner progressed with excruciating slowness. Business talk dominated the conversation with occasional references to the future and joining our families that made the food taste like ash in my mouth. My mother beamed throughout the meal, while my father occasionally glanced at me with what almost looked like regret. After dessert was served, Mr. Wilson clinked at his glass. "I believe we should get to the real purpose of this evening." My mother nodded enthusiastically. While Marcus stood and moved to my side of the table, the room seemed to tilt as he dropped to one knee beside my chair. "Samantha Turner," he announced, opening the velvet box to reveal a diamond ring that looked oppressively large. "Would you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" The silence that followed felt endless. Everyone stared at me expectantly. My mother with barely contained excitement, my father with resignation, the Wilsons with confident smiles. Marcus's expression was not of love or even affection, but of someone closing a successful business deal. I need some air," I managed to say, rising from my chair. "Excuse me for a moment." I fled to the back porch, gulping the cool evening air. Footsteps followed me, and I turned to find Marcus standing there, his expression now irritated. "That wasn't the response I was expecting," he said, crossing his arms. "I'm sorry, but this is all very sudden," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "We barely know each other." He laughed, a sound without warmth. "Don't be naive, Samantha. This arrangement has been in the works for months. Your mother assured me you were on board arrangement." The word hung between us like a slap. Yes, arrangement. My father is helping yours. Make partner. Your mother gets the social standing she's always wanted, and I get a young, beautiful wife who can give me children and host company events. He reached out to touch my face. You'll have a comfortable life. Many women would be grateful for such an opportunity. I stepped back from his touch. And what if I want a career, an education, a say in my own future? His expression hardened. My wife won't need to work as for education. A few cooking classes might be beneficial, but otherwise unnecessary in your future. He gestured to the ring box. I am your future. I stared at him finally, seeing with complete clarity what my life would become if I accepted a decorative possession. Carefully managed and controlled my dreams, discarded in favor of his requirements. No. I said the word, feeling like freedom on my lips. I won't marry you. Marcus's face flushed with anger. You will regret this, he hissed before storming back inside. I gave myself a moment to breathe before following. When I re-entered the dining room, the atmosphere had transformed. The Wilsons were gathering their coats, Mrs. Wilson whispering furiously to my mother, while Mr. Wilson glared in my direction. My father stood awkwardly by the doorway, looking anywhere but at me. Once the front door closed behind our guests, my mother rounded on me. What have you done? She demanded, her voice shaking with rage. Do you have any idea what you've just thrown away? I've saved myself from a lifetime of misery, I answered, a strange calm settling over me. I won't marry a man who sees me as property. Property? She scoffed. You ungrateful child. Marcus Wilson is one of the most eligible bachelors in the state. He would have given you security status, everything I've worked to prepare you for. I don't want those things if they come at the cost of my freedom. My mother's face contorted with fury. This is about those college applications, isn't it? Did you think I wouldn't find them? That I wouldn't see the letter from Berkeley? My heart sank. She had been through my things. I want to study business, I said, straightening my spine. I want to build. My parents exchanged glances. "We didn't think you would want to hear from us," my father admitted, "after what happened." Margaret was. He hesitated, looking at my mother. She was not in a good place. For a long time after you left, my mother's perfect posture sagged slightly. "I was wrong," she said, the words clearly difficult for her about Marcus, about everything. "What do you mean? Did you know? He was arrested?" "My father asked for hitting his wife." I nodded. "I saw the news article. When we heard about that, it was like a physical blow," my mother said, realizing what we had tried to push you into. "What could have happened to you by then? You were already building your company." My father continued. "You seemed to be doing so well without us. We thought reaching out might just reopen old wounds." The conversation was interrupted by Emma's stomach growling audibly. "I'm hungry, Mommy," she announced. "We could order something," my father suggested eagerly. "Or there's that Italian place downtown you used to like." I checked my watch. "Actually, we should get back to the hotel. Michael will be wondering where we are." "Michael," my mother asked Emma's father, my husband. Their expressions registered another shock. They hadn't known I was married. Perhaps you could all come for dinner tomorrow," my mother suggested hesitantly. "We'd like to meet him." I considered the invitation, studying both their faces. My mother looked older than her years. The perfect facade of my childhood, cracked to reveal the insecure woman beneath my father, seemed diminished somehow. His confident accountant's demeanor replaced by a tentative hopefulness. "We'll see," I said, not yet ready to commit. "There's something else I need to know first. Are you having financial problems?" They both stiffened. "Why would you ask that?" My mother responded defensively. "The house needs maintenance. Dad looks like he's lost weight, and I know healthcare isn't cheap, especially after heart surgery." My father sighed deeply. The firm downsized 3 years ago. I wasn't let go, but my partnership track evaporated. And yes, the medical bills have been challenging. "We're managing," my mother added quickly, pride still evident in her voice. As I gathered Emma's things and prepared to leave, I made a decision. "I'm opening a branch office here," I told them. "We'll be hiring local staff." "Dad, you're good with numbers and client relations if you're interested. I could use someone with your experience." The offer hung in the air. Not charity, but an opportunity. A first step towards something new that evening at our hotel. I recounted the visit to Michael over dinner, while Emma colored nearby. "They kept a scrapbook of everything I've done," I said, still processing the revelation. "All these years." "I thought they'd wash their hands of me." "People are complicated," Michael replied. "They can be wrong, even terribly wrong, and still love their child. I don't know if I can forgive them." "Yet," I admitted, "especially my mother." "Forgiveness doesn't have to happen all at once," he said wisely. "It can be a process. The question is whether you want to start that process." I looked over at Emma, happily absorbed in her coloring book, unaware of the complex adult emotions swirling around her existence. "I think for her sake." I do the following. Evening, we returned to my parents' house for dinner. Michael, Emma, and me. My mother had clearly spent the day cooking the dining room table laden with all my childhood favorites. My father nervously shook Michael's hand, his eyes registering approval of my husband's firm grip and direct gaze. "We've prepared the good china," my mother announced, her voice betraying her anxiety. "Actually," I interjected, "let's use the everyday dishes with a 5-year-old. It's safer." The small rebellion. Changing my mother's careful plans hung in the air momentarily before she nodded. Of course, you're right. That simple acquiescence, so unlike the controlling mother of my youth, spoke volumes about how our dynamics had shifted. I was no longer the powerless teenager I was, an adult, making reasonable requests that she now had to consider. Dinner conversation remained carefully polite, skating around the deeper issues still unresolved between us. Emma, oblivious to the undercurrents, charmed her grandparents with stories about her kindergarten adventures and her favorite stuffed animals waiting back home. "She's remarkable," my father said, watching Emma demonstrate how she could count to 100. "You've done a wonderful job with her." "We have," I corrected gently, taking Michael's hand. "We're equal partners in parenting, just like we are in everything else." My mother's eyes flickered between Michael and me, observing our easy rapport with something like wistfulness. After Emma had been tucked into bed in the guest room upstairs, the 4 adults gathered in the living room for the conversation we couldn't have in front of her. "I'd like to establish some ground rules," I began, my business negotiation skills serving me well in this personal arena. "If we're going to have any relationship moving forward,